boss agrees to report what it finds, only to the authorities.
Guantanamo's wrong prison camp. Let's go back a couple hundred years. Known officially at Fort Sumter, Andersonville held the largest prison population in the entire Confederacy. During the beginning of 1864, the men in command of the Confederacy saw a need for another prison to house prisoners of war. Surrounded by a 15 to 17 feet high stockade fence, the original approximately 16 acres were expanded to a little over 26 acres by June of that year.
Conditions for the prisoners in the camp deteriorated rapidly as the number of the captives increased. Disease ran rampant, with little medicine or treatment available for the ill. Food was scarce, and many prisoners became skeletonized and died of starvation, dysentery, and other parasitic, bacterial, or fungal diseases. Water became polluted from the overcrowding of the camp. Raiding parties formed within the prisoners. These raiders, armed with clubs and sticks, would assault the prisoners to gain whatever valuables they could, whether that would be jewelry or food. The Andersonville raiders were tried by a judge and punished. Some of the raiders died by hanging.
Andersonville opened late February 1864.
So why did it open?
In 1863, the Confederacy found that it needed more camps to hold captured Union soldiers waiting to be exchanged. Georgia's distance from the front lines, relative immunity to Union cavalry raids, a good water source, and easy access to railroads convinced Confederate leaders that Sumter County, Georgia, Andersonville specifically was the ideal site. I was captured and taken prisoner at Andersonville Prison, May 22, 1864. Since the day I was born, I never saw such misery as there is here. They can't get any soap or anything else to wash their clothes with. Many accounts from prisoners held they are questionable in their validity and considered exaggerated. However, one of the accounts from a prisoner named Amos E. Stearns is considered to be a valid and accurate account of life at Andersonville. Stearns was moved from prison to prison, as were most prisoners of war. He was at Andersonville from May of 1864 to September 1864. The first entry in his journaled accounts of Andersonville, he describes the prison as a dirty, filthy place it is. However, from his writings and others we know that prisoners held they did have some rights. They had some medical rights. Prisoners were able to write and receive letters sometimes. If the prisoner had money, they could buy food from a soldier. Prisoners could get paroled and released after signing a document stating they would not bear arms. If they were to survive, they had to be responsible for much of their own well-being. They were given raw rations most of the time, although they had to cook it or eat it raw. Providence Spring provided a good source of water for prisoners. They received a miracle of a thunderstorm on a clear night that became the spring when a lightning bolt hit the ground. John Ransom made the best of his situation by operating a barber shop and a laundry service. John Ransom and other prisoners that took the responsibility of cleaning their clothes would use sand as a substitution of cleaning their clothes. On November 19, 1863, just a couple months after Andersonville Prison opened, President Lincoln said in the famous Gettysburg Address that the deaths of the war would not be in vain, that because of their deaths, the nation would experience a new birth of freedom. The deaths of Andersonville Prison certainly were considered as a long and short-term impact affecting the consequences of war in general. For soldiers imprisoned at Andersonville, an immediate impact was the need for each other for survival. Stearns loaned out his 1 cup to a fellow prisoner who needed it, and then did not have one for himself. He, in turn, had to use another prisoner's cup on a larger scale to affect future prisoners in other wars. The records of Andersonville were certain to be considered. Confederate prison guards caused corruption at Andersonville for harsh treatment of Union soldiers. When a prisoner was sick, each other prisoner could try to help them. Union soldiers blocked off trade, resulting in little food and medical supplies for Andersonville Prison. Now, since of harsh treatment of Andersonville Prison, exchanges of prisoners are made, and they are allowed to keep in touch with their families. True-bred Confederates still remain in the Deep South today. More than 60% of the population in Andersonville today are white. Andersonville Prison today is a national museum and brings in more than 1 million visitors a year.